Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Top Agent Nation Commercial Wednesdays. Very important topic today, but not a sexy one, property management. This is such a necessary, we all say, part of the business, but a lot of times it doesn't always get the respect and everything of the large transactions, leases, or business brokerage sales, but it is also just so important, especially when the market does turn. It does help, especially with banks and other companies, to really underwrite the property, understand how to manage it. It's not just buying the property, but a lot of times it is just so important that we make sure people do understand all aspects of the real estate, so you could do as much as you can to maintain the business. And I know with Scott, that's how we met when we were looking at your company, not just the brokerage company, but the property asset management, because of what you can actually do when you have the property asset management. And there's so many parts of it, Scott. So excuse the noise. I'm at the airport right now, going to be jumping to Mexico. But Scott, please share everything about property management.
All right, thanks. Hello, everyone. Morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you're at. So yeah, I just want to talk a little bit today about property management and how agents and brokers should be utilizing property management companies and property managers to further your business. And I see some friends on here, Angie, solid property manager as well. So please jump in. Ellen as well, does property management in Canada. So lots of friends, jump in. If you hear something, not a problem. So I do, I started out in property management long time ago, homes, condos, moved into commercial, shopping centers, office buildings, ended up starting my own property management company, and then later purchased a franchise brokerage company. And for me, they paired up so well. And so you don't have to own both, but I would definitely recommend as an agent, you work with and have on your team a property manager and property management company that you trust, and you can form that referral network back and forth. So I just put together a few slides here on some advantages of agents taking the time to add a quality management company to your team. We have lenders, agents have contractors and all sorts of members, attorneys on their team, and they don't always focus on property management. A lot of times it's an afterthought of, well, where am I going to recommend to my client? And if you recommend a client to a bad property management company, you're unlikely to get that transaction on the other side. So pairing up with a solid property management company that can handle that asset, whatever it is, a home, condo, all the way up to giant shopping centers, is going to help you continue to funnel your business, because they're going to work with you to keep that property in a condition, or fix up that property in a condition for you to transact it on the other side. Hunter, will you put up that slide deck, please? All right, so I just went through and put down some reasons. Obviously, future sales pipeline. The property management companies have sometimes hundreds, if not thousands, of clients and syndicated clients, and you need to be paired up with them, like I said, to be able to continue that pipeline. You don't want to just hand over a referral to a property management company and have your client now have their property with them, and then never consider them again, or talk to them 6 years and the loan's up in 7, or some of those kind of networking things that agents and brokers do. But rather stay involved with that property, stay involved with that client, make sure they're happy, talk about improvements that are being made. And when a property management company is working with the client and you're advising, and they start rehabbing units, or they do something exterior that is going to bring benefit to the property and raise rents, then go and do a reforecast of their value. I mean, those are your opportunities to talk to your clients and potential clients without just asking if they want to sell, because they've got 30 phone calls of that. But how can you provide value? And that's going to be the selling point, and also get you that transaction on the other side. So networking opportunities, get in there and start talking to those property managers, property management companies. That's something we can help with, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. And for those of you that do, say, commercial leasing, well, those tenants turn into buyers, right? Because they're going to leave their space, and they're going to want to go, and maybe they're leaving a multi-tenant industrial, but they need more space, and now they want to buy their own building and then rent out the other half. And then you got SBA lenders and things like that you can start working with. So stick with the client, stick with the management company, work as a team, and do the right thing for the client, which is getting the property in a condition for the highest value, the highest rents, cash flow, whatever that owner's goals are. So when it comes to property management companies, I would say, start vetting them in your area. Start meeting with property managers. Property managers will change companies. If you find a solid property manager, you may want to follow them, because like a lot of businesses, it's the person that's doing the direct work that brings the value. The company, of course, always stands behind it and are probably good as well. But forming that relationship with a property manager, taking them to lunch, taking them to coffee, like you said, Jim, property management isn't always seen as the darling of the industry, but I'll tell you, without us, things just don't happen. And I'll just stick up for my property management crew, because we don't always get the best side of it. We're not always driving around in the $100,000 cars, because our cars are full of stuff. I mean, we got cleaning supplies, we've got all sorts of stuff. So we're the workers out there that are doing the work, and I think agents working with those property managers will get further than they would in other areas, just because sometimes we need a little more love. We don't get many phone calls every day that says, "You're doing a great job, thanks so much." We get, there's a leak and I've got water pouring out under my door. So they'll like it, and you'll benefit from that relationship. Client retention. So on client retention, this worked really well for me when I owned the management and the brokerage, and you can utilize it the exact same way. Like I was saying, when you are referring your client to a property management company, go into it with a plan. Even if it's a house, what is the plan? If they're renting that out as an investment property, do they want to sell in 10 years? Do they want to hold forever? Is it on a big lot and you can add a unit behind it? If it's a shopping center, and the goal is to sell it in 7 years, 10 years, stay with that management company. Work with the owner and the management company when they're doing their budgets every year, because then you can help reforecast and project the value of that property. The management company, for the most part, isn't going to be looking 7 or 8 years ahead as to the value of that property. The management companies are maintaining it and improving it and working with those owners' goals, but selling it is oftentimes not the goal of a property management company. And remember, when you're transacting and selling that property, they're losing a client potentially. So, it's another good reason to have a solid relationship with that property management company through that due diligence period. I think everybody knows what it's like when the management company doesn't have all the keys, or they don't post all the notices, and then you can't get into the units for your inspections. Those kind of things make due diligence difficult. Your lenders can't get in, things like that. So having that relationship throughout the process, and where you advise your client to place that property for management, is critical to your future pipeline. So that's what I would say as to client retention. On the commercial side, one thing that I did as a broker when I used and referred out to property management companies is I would make sure quarterly that I emailed the whichever software you use, but whatever property report would show value and transactions and things like that for the client. So every quarter, even though I was the broker and it was managed by someone else, I asked the management company, and they were kind enough to do it, to include my PDF in their stack. And so you would have your operating report, then they would put my report, and then it would go into their financials and operating report. And the value of that is you're in front of your client quarterly with the value, and they may have questions. And that's where you can work with your property manager and the client to build that budget for that future goal, even if it's to hold it long term. Maybe later they take out equity and buy something else. So there's always opportunities, and it's always comes down to doing the right thing for the client, whatever their goal is as well. Next slide, please. Investment expertise. So like I was saying, property managers understand what they do extremely well. They're not, for the most part, going to be looking at the value of the property. And so they need you as much as you need them. And that's where the relationship really can take off, because even though they may lose a client when you sell it, if they're doing a good job and the buyer comes in and they can see that, that's what the management company wants, is to be able to retain that client. We want to keep those clients forever, as long as we can. And so working together to make that property look good and to perform right is going to be important to the management company, and trying to retain that client if it does sell. And then, so property maintenance, again, this goes back to, this should be in what you're doing all the time with the clients that you refer. You should be working with them as much as possible, but again, having that relationship with the management company is going to ensure you have a seat at that table come budget time, to work with the client and make sure those goals are met. You may be impounding paint jobs. You may be impounding roof things that, roof repair, roof replacement. It's not going to happen for 5 or even 7 years. But if you want to transact that after it's done, then you need to be a part of that and help increase that value for the client. The management company is the vehicle that's going to do that for you, and they have the expertise, and they're going to be able to help. And then on the other side, when you have other properties that you're selling and you need a property management company to walk with you, which many do, and they're going to have the expertise that you may not have. They're going to have the suppliers that work with, right? You're going to have the landscape company that can come out during say you're representing the buyer, or even the seller getting ready for sale. They're going to be able to bring their team out there, their team of landscapers, painters, contractors. I mean, it's a wealth of information and value you're going to get by inviting these managers and property management companies to be a part of your sales process. Obviously, they would like to get or retain the account, but if they have a good relationship, then they're going to do that. And like agents have their list of their team members, so do property management companies, and they're going to probably be a little bit different in some aspects. So having that relationship with them is going to really benefit you in your transactions, both buying and selling. And you're going to find that the depth of their knowledge on what's real rent, what are real costs of repairs. Sometimes brokers can exaggerate. I mean, it happens. It's happened once or twice. And so if you're on the buy side, if you bring a property management company, it's going to really look at those expenses, and they go in there and they can drop the landscaping by $100 a month, and you cap that out. Clearly, that's going to help impress your client, and also maybe get that deal done, because you can see the areas that you're going to be able to improve and make a difference. Tenant to buyer conversion. This is on homes. I don't know. I'm not sure how that would really work, because a lot of owners, if you go and you move a tenant out of their rental property and they've got to find a new tenant, they're probably not going to be as happy client. I can tell you on the commercial side for sure, when you're placing those tenants, like a retail tenant or an office tenant, medical, dentists and other medical professionals are a great example of, they either rent a condo, commercial condo, or they own one, but now they need a bigger building. Then you're going to be able to do that for them. So converting tenants to clients is a natural process if you stay in touch. Again, be very careful about the relationship, because you don't want to be taking tenants from a client you've placed in a property and then moving them out. That's not going to make the client happy. But having transparency and openness and working with everybody is going to make it clear and will make it smooth. And obviously, if a client that you've placed a tenant in a commercial building and they're looking to upgrade and they need more space, well, then you can come in and really help, because you're going to make the process smooth. They're not, obviously you're not going to have the tenant just move out right away. You're going to make sure it, that transaction process goes smooth, because they're going to move out anyway. And because you have the relationship, you'll make it easier on the property management company, on the owner, and the tenant, and then also find a new tenant. Next slide, please. Expanded service offerings. This goes back to what I was saying on having more options and ways to work with the clients, and having the property management company's team to be able to use as your team. And so I think just being able to make sure you partner with them so that you've got more resources and an expanded team. You bring out a property manager, a property management company, and you're going to find your team has just grown exponentially, because they have their entire team, and all of that is directly related to what you're doing as far as property performance, whether it be rents, the physical aspects, etc. And then credibility and trust. When you show up with a solid property management company to a walkthrough or to review a property that an owner may purchase, or that wants to sell, you're gonna look really good in that client's eyes, because you have a solid team behind you. And those property managers, that's not getting a quote from a insurance company or getting a quote on a new loan. This is in-depth walking units, looking at upgrades. Property management companies are going to know many times about rebate programs that owners may not know about, new products and services, different roof systems, things like that will really come in value to these clients. And so when you show up with a professional property management company, and we've got a bunch on here now, that's going to make you look really good. And so that's going to add to the credibility and trust that owner has in you and all other aspects of the transaction and their dealings in the future. Passive income opportunities. Many property management companies will pay obviously a month, sometimes 2 months of management fee, but my phone keeps going off. Move that over here. But sometimes they'll pay a monthly fee as a percentage of their percentage of the management fee they make, and so that can be an ongoing annuity type situation. And you have to find it out. And again, I'll talk about that in a second, but that's another opportunity for you. Obviously, you'll get the referral fee, but it's more than the referral fee. That's really nothing compared to the future sale of that asset, by working with the management company, by working with the client. And if for any reason the client's unhappy, you need to know that with the management company. You need to know that so that you can take care of their property. It may be that you have to advise them and find another one. I mean, your duty is to the client and doing the best job. But once you're working with a good company and a good property manager, you're likely going to be just fine ongoing. All right, looking at Jim. So that's the passive income opportunities. They may also work with other partners that have revenue share opportunities. So it's worth talking to them about it and seeing where you overlap and can help each other. Next, please. So here's just some tips. I think they're all probably pretty basic, but I just wanted to list them anyway. In your area, and again, this is something we can help with. I'll talk about it in a minute, but identify the management companies in your area. You can do all the usual vetting, check the Department of Real Estate license, make sure that there's no violations. They haven't been hit with anything bad in the past. Some of those basic screenings through the Department of Real Estate, I think, are first. And then, start interviewing them and talking to them, taking them out to coffee. Meet in their office is probably a really good idea if they have an office. Some are virtual now, but see how they perform their jobs. See if you can get recommendations. Yep, Google reviews. Thank you. That's excellent. So there's a million ways these days to check these companies, but do your due diligence. Don't just pick a company and say, oh, we'll go with them because they're right around the corner from your property. Well, that could potentially lose you a future sale, because if you give them bad recommendation, when it goes south with the property management company, it goes south really bad. Like, I mean, something's not happening. They're not getting their distributions. The property's vacant for weeks and weeks and weeks, or whatever the situation is that would cause that issue with the client and the management company. That builds upon time, because those clients do not want to switch management companies. I mean, that it is a lot of work for them. They're scared of the unknown, and there's only so many good property management companies. Obviously, groups like IREM that have AMO firms, they're always a good one as well. They've got minimum criteria that's higher than many others. So identify, interview them, talk about what they do, make sure they specialize or good at what that property type is. You're not going to take an office building to a company that only does homes and condos, or they don't have any in their portfolio. They haven't done it yet, but they're sure they can. That may not be good enough. Or if they're working with somebody that has done it in the past and the team has the experience, then that would be fine. So create the value proposition. Again, that we can go to the next slide. It's all pretty basic. Reach out to them. Next slide, please. I talk fast. I'm sorry, everyone. So there's just some of the initial contact, basic stuff. Do your research, email them, call them. If they're not getting back to you, because property management companies do have agents that want to work with them, and so they sometimes can have a lot of inquiries that way. But be persistent, talk to them, show them why you can bring value to them. That's going to be important. If they know that you're going to be a resource of referrals into them, and that you'll assist them, then that's a big help. I mean, they need to have solid agents, and you're going to have team members that they may not know. Property management companies aren't always on the, say, the lending side as far as, advising clients on loans. That's not always what a property management company will do. So you'll have advantages and team members that they don't have. And that's why it's such a perfect pairing between the two. Like as I was saying about number 4, suggest a referral agreement, send them market insights. They can send you rent surveys for what you're doing and market data, and you can do the same thing for them. It's important for them to know a lot of the information that agents have too. Property managers aren't always running what's the value of this property, but it is important to understand from a property manager standpoint, if there's 4 buildings on a block, and for some reason the value of the one they're managing is so much lower, well, why? I mean, that's something a property management company wants to know too. They're running rents, they're looking at the property, but maybe there's something that's happening that is creating a situation that those other properties have a higher value than this. And they may not know because they're not on the sales side, and they're not going to have all the information that agents and brokers do. So again, a perfect pairing that helps each other. And so offer that strategic partnership, find property managers that cover the assets that you work in, and have that team. And then the ongoing communication, basic stuff. Just stay in contact. Like I said, quarterly, if they'll include their market data or valuation data, that would be huge if they'll do it. Some will, some won't, but if nothing else, you can let your client know, I communicated with the property management company. They said everything is going well. Just wanted to check in with you, see how everything's going. They did mention that rents have gone up, so I've reforecasted the value of your property, and here's what it looks like today. I mean, that's what an owner wants. They don't, in my opinion, they don't just want to be called, do you want to sell? Do you want to sell? Bring that value. Let them know that you're always involved in their property. You're always looking out for their property, and that you're top of mind to them, and that will, I think, continue to have that relationship going with them. Obviously, future transactions or referral transactions. Next, please. What am I doing? I better go quicker. So one of the companies that I work with is PM Referral Partners, and what this company does is, and this is going to be true. I'm trying to sell you on the company, just the concept of, utilizing the resources of finding the property management companies. One way is this company, agents, owners, other people looking for property management companies. Say you have a client that's selling in San Diego and they're purchasing in Dallas. Well, you don't know a property management company in Dallas, and you may know an agent or two over there, but they may not know of a property management company or one they can really highly recommend. So you can utilize a service like this referral company and put in the property, and that a lot of that work has already been done for you, and it's already been vetted. Not saying that company is going to do an excellent job, but it's certainly been vetted more than most would do, as far as years in business, checking the license, are they CPMs, are they AMOs? And they don't have to be, but we go through and we check a lot of the basics, and also interview the owners of the company to make sure that they can, one, handle the assignment, they do those type of property assets well, they have referrals. So a lot of that legwork that would be done, and we're in about 20, 25 of the major cities now, can be done for you. So even if it's in the same city and you don't have a property management company, fill out the form. It'll tell us a little bit about the property, where it is, and then we can go and say, okay, yeah, we already have 3 companies we've vetted in this city or county, and here's where we think here's a list for the owner to be able to go and then interview. And we, on the site, we have lists of questions they can use or use their own. It's not a bad idea, if it's in the same city, for you to sit in on some of those discussions. One, you're going to learn a ton by talking to these property management companies and the process. And also you're staying hand in glove with that client throughout this process. You're not just saying, here's a phone number of a company that does property management, I heard good things about, good luck. Okay, that's okay. But again, you want to keep that relationship, because I'm on the management and I'm a broker and I own a brokerage company. I've seen all of those sides throughout the entire process, and each one of those is an opportunity for the agent to stay connected to those clients. Pre-screened, yep, customizable solutions. Yeah, we've had a couple situations where a client has a very unique property. And so we can, if that's not in our list already, say a marina, then that's something we can at least help, because we know the questions, we know the companies to be able to find, and some of the ways to assist the client and the agent in finding those companies. Next, please. Improve property performance. Yeah, these are all the same reasons you want to have them placed with a solid property management company, because you need that property to achieve whatever that client's goals are. I've had clients that say everything's fine, leave it just as it is. In 5 years, we're going to sell it. Just raise the rents 3%, do a little bit of this. Fine. I mean, but so whatever their goal is, property management companies can help you get it to that level. And obviously finding the right property management company that can do it is the key to that. Risk management's good. I should have talked about that earlier. So the other part of this, when you're talking about either selling a property before you put it to market, or your client's looking to purchase, is that risk reduction. And property management companies obviously are highly risk adverse. And so that is something that when they're walking out there, they're going to point out things some people may not even notice. I mean, there's little things, city sidewalks that are raised, right? Trip hazard, a person trips, falls on the property. I mean, I've had that happen before. Now my property owner is getting sued, and all the person did is fall on their property from the city sidewalk. So you've got sprinkler heads popped up. You've got tire stops in shopping centers where the rebar is popping up. Somebody pulls their car over, pulls the bumper off, and they pull back. All those little things, property managers' eyes may be a little more attuned to than a broker. Not always. And that's why I've always said the best brokers, in my opinion, have a very deep knowledge and understanding of property management. When you go through there and you're going to sell a property, you're looking to list a property, or even help a client buy, if you've got some to a good amount of property management experience, you're going to see that property in a couple different ways. You're going to see it from the broker's perspective, but you're also going to start seeing a lot of those details. I mean, I've gone through and there's been smoke detectors not in bedrooms, right? And so things like that matter. And it also helps your expertise with that client when you're pointing out things that isn't the big picture. It's not, well, we can raise this unit $35 and this is going to be your new cap. It's not that. It's showing them that you're really looking at the details and you know every aspect or as much as you can reasonably of that asset. That client's going to see you as so much of a resource, not just a transaction person. They can get that anywhere. It's the knowledge of helping protect them from some of those bigger losses. And again, that's what even bringing a property management company with you is going to help. Same thing with compliance of local laws. On the brokerage side, we know some of those laws, but property management companies certainly are going to know and understand things like, the places that have rent control, government housing, student housing, some of those kind of niche areas within property management. All of those are going to definitely add to help make you look like the expert and be the expert. Next, please. Higher tenant satisfaction and retention. Now that goes back again to having a solid property management company. You also need ones that perform it on schedule because as property managers, when you're raising rents, you're not going to take an entire apartment building and have everybody's lease end in December, right? And so having some thoughtful plan every single year on rents, leases, shopping centers, that's all in that lease, right? And so what does the lease look like? What are the terms? What are the tenant mixes? Working with a broker who has the knowledge on the leasing and the sales with the property manager makes just an incredible team for that client. And I think, is that the last slide? No, there's another. Yeah, and so that's just, so you can go to the last one too, if you want. Yeah, go. I think, is there another one? Yeah, see my big thank you. Anyway, so that's my quick, I need to change that picture. I may be a year older than that. But anyway, that's my quick rundown of why agents should work with property management companies. I'll just ask, Angie, Ellen, sorry if I'm missing other property managers on this call. Do you have any thoughts? Jump in. You're all experts, just like me.
I have a ton of thoughts.
Go for it.
I'm feverishly writing notes over here. So I'm a little bit of a unicorn. Well, kind of like what you alluded to, Scott, about the best property managers also have brokerage experience. So with Command Properties, we're in Northern Virginia. We're a full service real estate brokerage. So we have the portfolio of rental property, and we also help people buy and sell real estate. And we partner with real estate agents from all different types of brokerages. So we have a very unique perspective. We see all aspects of it. And for years, like the most successful realtors that I see in my market have their finger on the pulse of the properties that are being managed for their clients, and they stay engaged. If we have an agent who brings us one of their clients to manage, we always protect that agent relationship, and we always, honor that collaboration and make sure that client goes back. But those agents are engaged. They're contacting my team when the properties are coming up for lease. So they want to know, and then they're providing, like you said, those valuations of the property value and all of that stuff. But one of the things that I would say, because the vast majority of the agents that I see just go, oh, property management, oh, I don't do that. And then they completely step away from the client. Right. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what are you doing? Yeah. This is such a huge lead source. So if they're staying engaged, and even every market's going to be a little bit different on the leasing side of it, but if the agent is doing the leasing, then those tenants that are coming in, they're putting those tenants in the pipeline. I see these guys, the tenants buying properties all the time. But when it comes to actually partnering with a management company, the hardest part that an agent is going to have to overcome is finding that quality company. And it requires a lot of diligence, and it requires a lot of searching, because unfortunately in this industry, there's a ton of really bad ones. And as an agent, you have a fiduciary responsibility to your client to help protect them. And so that's when you, if they're going to rent their house out, that's when you really got to lean in as an agent. And a couple of things that you want to understand is, how does that management company screen tenants? Because oftentimes the requirements and the standards are very low, and that puts the client and their property at risk. Huge financial implications if the person's not qualified. And then the second thing is, you want to make sure that that client is reading and vetting that management agreement, because in a lot of these agreements, it will say that if you're going to go sell your property, the client chooses to sell, then they have to use that management company. Well, you don't want that as an agent. You want your client back, right? And oftentimes these owners, these property owners, they don't really read these contracts. They don't know how they can cancel. They're obligated, they're locked in. So just walk your client through that. And that is how you can really add a lot of value.
Yep, I agree. Okay, I just saw that question. Sorry, let me pull that up. Yeah, that's what I would say is, you can use our service, or, the old fashioned way, which is just fine too, get recommendations and go through the exact same process. Our way is a little bit easier because you can direct them to a website, they fill out the form, and then, we supply the companies that they can interview. But obviously the other way is ask around, ask people, get referrals, make sure it fits that property type. And then, you're going to have to balance between being there and interviewing with the client, because you don't want to be responsible for their decision. I will say, from a broker standpoint, I would not want to have an owner upset with me that I recommended a company, and then say the property manager left 6 months later and they put in a new property manager and it's not going as well or something. Those kind of things you don't want to get caught up in. But you're right, Angie. You want to be there at least in the initial part to hand it off and to let them know that you're helping them. There are those catches. There are property management companies that mark up the maintenance automatically, everything that comes in 5%, 5%, 5%. And those are some of the revenue streams that management companies have. And some of it's reasonable. If they're doing some work, then maybe that's an okay fee to have. But you don't want it buried. Obviously, you're going to want to have them have that contract reviewed by an attorney, just like everything else. So a service like ours will save you a couple steps, or do it the other way and get those referrals and work with your client. You can interview them. There's nothing wrong with that. You can call them up, ask them about them, ask them years in service, make up 10 questions, and email it over, ask them to answer it, and then start interviewing. And then you'll have your 2 or 3 companies maybe that you can give to a client and say, I've talked to these people, I've done this much vetting, and but obviously using a company like ours is one sheet and you're done. The other way is going to take a little bit more time. And we're in the major cities, and so if your client's relocating their property, or they want to purchase other properties in other places, you get your referral fee from referring to an agent in that location, as well as something maybe from the property management company, a month or 2 of referral fee. So I think Ellen was here, but she dropped out. Ellen manages up in Vancouver, and so she's a broker as well as a solid property manager as well. So if there are no other questions, sorry, I just kind of go fast through stuff. If there's any questions, let me know. Otherwise,
hey Scott, Tom Trong here. Awesome
hey,
job,
Tom,
man.
look at you.
That was
You're always
MBA
driving.
Master's Quality Training for an hour, and you didn't even charge us. I appreciate you.
Well, see, that's property managers. We're just here to help and get things done. We're not always. Yeah, that's funny. Are you
That's
always?
awesome.
You're always driving. Do you ever leave your car? Do you really live in a car?
I schedule, believe it or not, a part of my time blocking is being on the road. Instead of listening to music, I tune in. So this is all part of the time blocking, my man, to get stuff done. Right?
You're the best. You're the best. It's
So
good
anyway,
to
I
see
want
you.
to thank you for your leadership. Guys, this is Top Agent Nation. If you want Scott's PowerPoint, make sure you log on to register yourself in topagentnation.com. Register for the Backstage Pass. Scott's presentation will be right on there for the Backstage Pass. This is our commercial version every Wednesday, same channel, same time. If you have resident agents who want to connect, collaborate, residential rock stars like Scott in the commercial world, then that's on Monday day. Thank you, Alejandro, for pushing that through the chat. All right. If you are a speaker or trainer, you want to give valuable information like Scott did now, make sure you reach out to us. You can find us right on the website. We're always looking for agents, and brokers and experienced people willing to train, teach, and give of themselves. This program is broker centric, agent centric. We invite brokerages from all brands across the world. So I want to thank you again, Scott, for doing your thing. Good job, man.
Absolutely. And I'll say too, hopefully we'll have an opportunity to come back with maybe Angie and Rich speaking, because they do some training and consulting for companies as well. So there's more to come. Always happy to help. Always love working with you, of course, Tom and Jim as he runs to his plane. And I see you, Keith. How you doing over there?
Yeah,
And
I wanted to interject something, because today was a little bit different than what today usually is. We do have some first timers on this meeting right now. I want to emphasize there's a Monday meeting and a Wednesday meeting that gets hosted, and this is about commercial. Just because you heard a bunch of residential today, don't go away and don't come back. Come back every Wednesday at this time slot, because we always have topics on commercial here. Okay, I want to emphasize that.
Yeah, well, and I didn't mean to steer it one way. I'm a commercial guy, so everything I do is commercial. Even though I started out doing homes and condos, so yeah, no, it all applies, whether it's residential or commercial. It's all the same, and that's why I say in those examples of placing tenants in commercial buildings, that's that relationship for sure is more than somebody manages a house. There's only so much a management company can do with a house, but certainly on the commercial side, there's a ton, and exponentially needs a property manager on a shopping center, for instance, for a lot of variety of reasons that you wouldn't on a residential.
There was a comment in chat there, Scott. Somebody mentioned what systems are out there for use. And as far as I'm concerned, I would rather have the property management company use their system and me connect to it for my information as a landlord down the road, right?
Like a property management system?
Yeah. I mean, it actually says it there
The
in chat.
program?
Yeah, Boss Man was asking that question. Whoever Boss Man.
There's a ton. I mean, there really are, and I wouldn't want to favor one over the other. I mean, I'll rattle off a few. I mean, I've been happy with AppFolio. I'm not endorsing, and I'm not being paid by or all of that stuff, but AppFolio's been good. I've used Yardi. Yardi is good. I've used Timberline, Skyline. I'll mention the ones that I've used and have liked, and I'll leave it at that. Those are the ones that I think a lot of the management companies use, unless they build their own proprietary, which many of them do now, or they have mods off of others, off of static systems. So there's a lot of ways to go. I mean, there are property management companies that use QuickBooks. I mean, I wouldn't do it because the other ones, I mean, not on a commercial scale for sure, because they have the modules built in for the maintenance tracking, call centers. I mean, there's so many advantages to using a real software, whatever that would be, over a QuickBooks. And QuickBooks is great. If you're managing 5 houses and use QuickBooks, fine. I mean, but if you're going to be doing commercial and something substantial, I would recommend using a company. But if you're going to do it yourself, make sure you're complying with all the laws and you know what you're doing, because you screw up one trust account and bye-bye to your license. So I would be very careful about taking on more than you need to. Focus on what you do. If you don't do property management and you don't have a love of it, I would say team up with somebody. And the other advantage too is, you're missing out on opportunity to network. You're missing out on partners that will bring revenue to you. And so if you do it all yourself, who are you networking with? Yourself? I mean, that's not the plan. So, work with a management company that can provide value to you, and you can back and forth. I mean, when I would broker apartments, and I would bring a management company, it was just, it made me look so good. I mean, I walked away with rents, you know, they adjusted the rents based off the interior unit by unit inspections. They brought their landscapers. I mean, you know, if you're helping a buyer and you find out, hey, you know, those rents aren't what the broker said, you know, the rents are actually this based on the condition of the unit and the property. Well, you need to know that if your buyer's going to overpay, right? Or their plan's going to take a lot longer to achieve. So, yeah, I'm with you, Keith. I'm a commercial guy, but you know, you've got quality companies out there like Angie's that do residential, but also move in the commercial market too. So, just because a company does residential, if they also do commercial, you're just fine. A lot of times, property managers work portfolios of property types. All right. I think we're good.
Thank you very much, guys. Have a good rest of the day.
See ya.
Bye bye.